They didn't cover it on prime time. They didn't put it on the front page. But make no mistake, the Supreme Court just changed everything. In a 9-0 unanimous decision, the highest court in the land handed gun owners a victory so powerful, even the mainstream media doesn't want to touch it. Because buried inside this ruling is a single line, and that line could end every assault weapon ban in the nation. This is Firearms Rights Advisor, and today we're bringing you the story they refuse to tell.
Chapter 1. The Case That Started the Earthquake. In 2021, the Mexican government filed a bold lawsuit against American gun makers, Smith & Wesson, Glock, Colt, Ruger, and more. Their claim? That U.S. manufacturers were responsible for cartel violence in Mexico, not because they broke any law, but because their products were misused by criminals across the border. It was a $10 billion lawsuit, an attempt to hold American companies liable for crimes committed in another country. At first, the district court threw it out, citing the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, a 2005 law protecting gun makers from being sued when someone else commits a crime with their product. You can't sue Ford because someone crashes a car. You can't sue Smith & Wesson because a criminal uses a pistol. But Mexico appealed, and the case reached the Supreme Court. Then came the shocker. In June 2025, the justices, all 9 of them, ruled in favor of the U.S. gun makers. A unanimous 9-0 ruling, liberal and conservative justices alike, declaring that foreign governments cannot weaponize our courts to attack American freedoms. But the real story wasn't the verdict. It was one single sentence buried deep in the opinion that just changed the entire Second Amendment landscape.
Chapter 2. The Sentence That Shattered Gun Control. Justice Elena Kagan, writing for the unanimous court, included this line: "Firearms like the AR-15 are widely legal and commonly owned by law-abiding citizens for lawful purposes." That's it. One sentence, but its impact is explosive. Because under the Heller and Bruen decisions, the Supreme Court ruled that weapons in common use for lawful purposes are protected under the Second Amendment. So when the court officially declares in writing that the AR-15 is widely legal and commonly owned, that becomes a constitutional fact. Not an opinion, not political rhetoric, a legal truth backed by all 9 justices. There are over 24.4 million AR-style rifles owned by U.S. citizens today, more than there are Ford F-150s on the road. That means one thing: these rifles are mainstream, they are lawful, and they are protected. That single sentence is now the death warrant for every so-called assault weapon ban in America.
Chapter 3. Why that line destroys assault weapon bans. Let's connect the dots. In District of Columbia versus Heller, 2008, and NYSRPA versus Bruen, 2022, the Supreme Court established a core rule: you cannot ban firearms that are in common use for lawful purposes. That's the backbone of modern Second Amendment law. Now, combine that with Justice Kagan's 2025 statement, and it's game over. Gun rights attorneys can now walk into any courtroom and say, "Your Honor, the Supreme Court has already declared AR-15s are legal and commonly owned. Under Heller and Bruen, that makes them constitutionally protected. Case closed." No amount of emotion, politics, or fear can override that precedent. This is the most powerful legal ammunition gun owners have had in decades.
Chapter 4. The domino effect has begun. The fallout has already started.
In California, the long-running case Millard versus Bonta has gained new momentum. Judge Roger Benitez struck down California's assault weapon ban, citing the same logic. You can't outlaw what's common and lawful. Now, armed with this new 9-0 ruling, attorneys are doubling down, arguing that the Supreme Court itself has recognized the AR-15's protected status. Other states, New York, Illinois, New Jersey, Connecticut, are next in line. Every one of them is about to face the same question. If the Supreme Court says these rifles are common and lawful, how can you say otherwise?
Chapter 5. The opposition is in panic mode. Anti-gun politicians are panicking. Judges are fumbling, and the contradictions are getting embarrassing. In recent hearings, one Ninth Circuit judge called the AR-15 a machine gun, then called it an A-15. He didn't even know what rifle he was ruling on. Others tried to argue that constitutional rights should vary by state. Imagine that, your First Amendment rights depending on your zip code. That's not law, that's chaos. What we're witnessing is a system unraveling under the weight of truth. For years, the courts buried logic under politics. Now, the Constitution is digging it back up. Chapter 6. The National Impact. 10 states and Washington, D.C. still have assault weapon bans, restricting rifles based on cosmetic features, not functionality. But compliance is collapsing. In Illinois, millions refuse to register their rifles. In Connecticut and New York, compliance is below 20%. Why? Because Americans know these bans are unconstitutional theater. And now, with this 9-0 ruling, the courts are starting to agree. Judges can no longer pretend that law-abiding citizens are the problem. The Supreme Court has spoken, and the Second Amendment is stronger than ever. Chapter 7. The Next Battle. This is not the end. It's the beginning. Expect a wave of lawsuits against every remaining state-level ban. Legal teams in Illinois, Maryland, and Hawaii are already using this ruling as precedent. The message is clear. The AR-15 is legal, common, and protected. Any law that says otherwise is on borrowed time. The era of punishing the lawful for the acts of the lawless is ending. One sentence, 9 justices, a nation forever changed. The Supreme Court didn't just defend gun rights, it reaffirmed a principle older than any law, that freedom belongs to the people, not the politicians. So stay informed, stay vigilant, and stay in the fight. This is Firearms Rights Advisor, where the noise stops and the truth begins. Like this video, share it with every responsible gun owner you know, and subscribe to stay ahead of the rulings shaping your freedom. Because history isn't written in headlines, it's written in the Constitution.